Welcome. Welcome everyone, joining you in the Successful Bookkeeper Facebook group. If you're watching live, that is awesome. Feel free to join us over on the Zoom link. Lou will pop that link in the Facebook group so you can jump over here if you like. And if you've got any questions, just pop them into the comments over in Facebook if you're watching. If you want to come off mute, if you're watching live in the Zoom, welcome to come off mute. Welcome to pop in chat into the chat box as well. As we talk through, let me just confirm the topic, knowing when it's time to make a change. So this can be as a little conversation or as a big conversation, depending on where this goes, because it's something that we've both been, had to deal with. The changes in our own business and in ourselves as well. I mean, personally, you do have to make changes to get out of your comfort zone to keep things, to keep improving things. And often we get into a rut, and it's especially before I started my business, I was in a rut. I had a 3-day-a-week job and didn't want to change. So it's, why didn't I want to change? It was that fear of that, I didn't want to lose control of my income, but it's just making the decision and taking that leap of faith that we probably many of us have done, is taken that leap of faith to get out of our way and make things happen. So, so that's the conversation today. So, Deb, did you want to get started? And once we get a few in the audience, I'll ask the audience of where their change is not happening. Deb, do you want to share an experience you've had with that?
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned, Katrina, like personally as well. And I think I'd like to start off talking about that. And it's like, last year I was having all sorts of back issues and things like that, and I was going to physios and going to all these different people, and why does this keep happening? And then I went to an exercise physiologist, and they said, how much exercise are you doing? And I went, oh really? So I've got to it's up to me then, is it? I've got to, and like sit-ups and strengthening and core and all of those kinds of things. It's all very well going, no, can you, or everyone, I want you, can I have a pill? Can you give me this thing? What is this thing going to take this pain away? It's like you think about what's going on personally in your lives, and that this was really bugging me. And I thought, okay, Deb, put your big girl pants on. You're going to have to set aside time to do your sit-ups and do your exercises and get that into your routine. And so I think it's in every area of our lives, really. And when you think about when you start to grow your business, this is you, this is me, Debbie Roberts, starting I'm just starting a business, but I'm still who I am. And all the baggage that I carry with me comes not neatly packaged into my business. So all the weaknesses and fears and all that sort of thing that I had and had in my personal life comes with me in my business. Only those weaknesses and the things that you procrastinate about and your fears actually get magnified, like over and over again. But they might be small inconveniences that you put up with in your personal life, but they become magnified in your business because there's a lot of moving parts. So have a think about that. And in my business as well, like I want to change that tone over to business. So, for example, in my personal life, I didn't like asking people for money. If people owed me some money, I wouldn't ask them for it. In my business, how that played out was that I didn't like asking clients for money. So, and I would procrastinate over it, and I would feel pain about it. And I'd go, oh my goodness, I've got to pay my staff now, and I haven't got the money to pay this. Where am I going to get the money from? And I go through this, and it's only when you become aware of what, become conscious of all of this and say, enough. What do I need to do? What system do I need to put in place? How am I going to deal with this to take this pain away? It's really becoming aware of it is the first step.
Yeah, exactly. And perhaps we could ask the audience actually right now, before we go into more of the learning, around, what have they, maybe currently, what are you finding hard to change? Sarah, you seem to be nodding. Have you got something that's that's troubling you, that you're unable to change, or an experience with change?
Yes, to all of the above. Currently working through to make the change, which is good, and that's pretty much just to better myself as an individual, and then as a business owner, and then how that reflects on me growing my business, and how I treat others, and making myself better. Even though I'm nice to others, how can I improve that to be whether it's be nicer or maybe a bit more firmer, but to come across in a gentle way, not in an aggressive way or anything like that. And this year, and obviously last year during the COVID time, takes a toll on our perspective of life and what we want out of life. And I've making the change to change my perspective on the world and how I can improve my environment within work and in my personal life. So it's a work in progress. It's always going to be a work in progress, but I feel I'm not the person I was, even 6 months ago compared to even 12 months ago. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself for that, and just going to keep going. Just keep evolving.
I think that was one of the lessons, or I guess not a lesson, but an awareness, an epiphany, if you like, that it was like, so personal development is essential in your business. I didn't realize how much that, I didn't connect the two when I first started. I thought, I'm just starting a bookkeeping business. I didn't realize how much the baggage and my roadblocks and my fears and my comfort zone little bit that I was comfortably living in, how much I would be forced out of that. Or it's always a choice, but I agree 100%, Sarah, and I congratulate you on embracing the personal change and the personal development, because I am a very different person to the one that the little Debbie that started all those years ago, that wouldn't say boo to a goose, and it was all of that. So many lessons, and it's exciting though, isn't it? When you really embrace personal development and change and stepping out of your comfort zone, and you see that nothing bad happens. Sometimes it's a turmoil, but you come out of that when as you push through, and then you go, wow, this is much better out here.
And then you just got to grow from that even more, because then you see a new section of what you want and what type of person you want to be, and you keep moving towards, I don't know, being higher and higher and involving yourself higher and higher. So you just, you never know where you can go.
No.
My biggest thing that I've changed is, I guess, my relationship with food as well. That's been a big impact, just for focus and being productive, because you're at home, like, let's enjoy the sun maybe for my lunch break, and your lunch break goes for 3 hours. It's like, okay, well, how do I make up the time? Like, eating the right foods, and giving yourself a time frame to do work, so it's you do your work as much as you can within an hour, and then you can have your 3-hour lunch break if that's what you need. But being focused in that hour it's been very important because I like the sun. Not that I take 3-hour lunch breaks, but like, you know, it's in comparison, like if you're able to do your work within the hour, and why not keep having little hour sprints and longer breaks if your work gets done.
Yeah, that's I love that. It is. I love the way that you express that over the past year in more of a personal development, more of a choice, more of a reflection on yourself. So yeah, as Deb, you know, I really commend you for doing that and having the strength and courage to do that, and the I don't know, maturity or the growth to be able to recognize the improvements that can happen. That, you know, I often, Pete Cook has often said to us about an extraordinary life, that he, you know, he's always looking for an extraordinary life or leading an extraordinary life, and think, what would it take for me to to know what my extraordinary life is, and then to lead towards it. Like, you know, what is an extraordinary life for me? What do I need to do to improve on that? So that's, you know, the personal changes that we do need to make in ourselves. And it's not something that's not working necessarily, because that's another way that we do move to change, is that we look at, you know, what's not working in our life or what's not working in our business. What is, you know, we will, as bookkeepers, you know, and I guess that, you know, many don't want to generalize for bookkeepers, but we accept a lot of things. We're very resilient. We just keep going on. We have bass on, and we don't change anything. And to reflect in what's not working is another way of being able to identify what is important to change. So as Deb said, she wouldn't ask for money. So then you have a cash flow problem. Then you've got, you know, your debtors are blown out. You know, and I know for myself, I hated invoicing. I hated saying, have I really done all of that work? Can I really charge? You know, can I really ask for that money? And it's the change of that mindset of going, you know, of, yes, I did do that work. I am valued at that work. I'm not writing my work off. I'm changing the way. So how do I do that? Making sure that I'm capturing all the time, making sure that I'm capturing, you know, what I've done to make value for the client. So that's a specific case, but when you are, you know, looking at things that aren't working, what is it that you need to do to make that change and make it work? And it's constant. It's like you said, Sarah, it's a bit like an evolution. You improve one aspect of it and you go, okay, there's another aspect that I can improve, or another area of my life or my business that I can now improve. And it's I think it's the worst thing is to stay still.
Definitely. I think so. Yeah. But yeah. But it's also hard to get your body, get it moving a little bit in whatever way.
It's
little steps
growing.
are the key, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do recall and I can't name the person or whatever, but it was supposed to be a monk. That's right. I was listening to a podcast, and the fellow was saying that a smoker went to a health retreat or something, whatever it was, and this monk was there, and he said, I've tried to stop smoking for the last X period of time. How can I do it? And the monk just said 2 words or 3 words. He said, do it consciously. Smoke consciously. He didn't say stop smoking, just stop. He said, do it consciously. And what that means is that so many things are habits that and some are good and some are bad or not helpful to us. And smoking is a not helpful one, but it's done, not that I've ever smoked, but I know people have said that they don't even know they've actually started taking their first puff without even realizing they've reached out for the cigarette box, pulled a cigarette out, lit a match or a lighter or something, put it in them. They've done all these, about 6 things before they've actually taken the first puff. And that's what this guy was saying, is do it consciously. be aware as your arm is reaching out to that cigarette, because once you start to do, and he was even saying, as you start to absorb the smoke, think about all the toxins that are going into your body, like do it consciously, and don't do it hiding behind, oh, this makes me feel good. It's like, think about what's actually going on with your body. And so I think that whole thing and what you've been talking about, and it's those moments where you go, what's going on? Why? How come I keep going through this same thing over and over and over? And that's what I found in those lessons, was it would just appear in another form. So whatever I hadn't dealt with would just appear in another form in my business. And it's very, like, you keep going, how many lessons do I need to, is this another one? Is this, but it is, if you are ready to embrace that and step out of your comfort zone, the rewards are more than you could possibly imagine, to become a different person to what you started out with, or even 6 months ago, Sarah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. What is another attendee? Diane, did you want to come off mute and share a story if you're struggling with change that we could help you with, or an experience that you've had that you'd like to share?
I think that comfort zone's massive. Like it's that whole thing of being out of your comfort zone, and I'm finding in now that I'm looking at working on my business, that I do struggle with being out of my comfort zone, doing things that I'm not accustomed to, like marketing and those things we all sort of steer away from. And I feel that, I don't know, I find that when I get to that point, I tend to go back in and do what's comfortable. And then I get frustrated with myself because I just slide back into the in rather than the on the business. So, and that's, I've had a realization I've plodded along basically for years doing what I do in this little world, and have a realization that if I don't change something about how I do things, I'm just going to continue on in the same format, and I'm not really going to have any true wins. I'm not going to have any end result. And it is just me at the moment too. So there was also a realization, especially with what Sarah was talking about with last year, that I can't do it all myself either. It's that feeling of being overwhelmed and having numerous clients relying on you, and you get to a point where you go, I can't do all this on my own anymore. Something has to change. So, and especially if we want to have a holiday and those sort of things, I can't continue to be in and just plodding along. So, and it was identifying that change that's gradually taking me out of my comfort zone, and the realization of needing to systemize and needing to develop and leverage my business so it can operate and I can have a break or whatever it might take. So, yeah. But the comfort zone thing for me is a real, I call it writing with my left hand, because I normally write with my right.
Yeah. One of the things that peaked was drumming into me when I was still working in the business, so billable hours and client work and all of that, and going on site and doing the work. And he said, you're charging whatever it was at the time, $60, $70 an hour for your time, and your time to your business as the leader of your business is like $300 an hour. And that at that time. So, but it still didn't sink in. It still took months and months for that to slowly sink in, because that tie, that need, that desire, that the commitment that you've made to your clients to work in their business, or on their business, which is in yours, that is very strong. It's very hard to break that pattern, and it's like a habit. This is what I do. I get up on a Monday and I start the client work. Where this conversation is saying, just have a think on Sunday, what part of your week are you planning? So rather than just getting up and going and starting your week working in your business for your clients. And I actually remember the client and the moment that the penny finally dropped, and I went into this and I sat at this client's, it was on site, I sat at this client's, and it was like this really almost so strong, the feeling was so strong, it was almost overpowering, that I actually felt like running out of the house. It was their home office. And I actually had to stop myself from physically running out of the house. It was like I was looking out the window going, I'm not meant to be here. This is not where I'm meant to be. And it was so powerful that it took me all my strength just to, okay, now that you know that, you're never coming back. Now, if you can't find a person, that's the decision I made at that time. If I don't have a bookkeeper for just this particular client to replace myself with, I'm going to suggest that the client finds another book, because I am not coming back here. And it wasn't about the client or the work. It was just that epiphany. It was very, very powerful. And that's one thing that I would recommend you all do, is just think about the value you have to your business. What would the equivalent of $300 an hour be now? You know, it's like $1,000 an hour or some amazing number. Every dollar that you're earning for clients that your clients are paying you for is worth 10 times that in the intellectual knowledge, the intellectual property, the ability that you have to scale and leverage and all of that. That is worth vastly more than what you can earn in getting any money from clients.
I think too, like the last year's changed the way I do things. I, like you're saying, habit forming, but I would have a specific client on a specific day. Like every Wednesday, I would go to the same client's office every Monday. So I'd get up, go, what day is it? Where am I going? What am I doing? And obviously with lockdowns and everything last year, it's changed the whole dynamics of how I do my business. And that was another realization where I suppose some people are struggling. It's actually enhanced the way I can actually do business better by being able to manage time better. I'm not committed to, I don't need to go and spend 3 hours in that client's office once a week. Obviously with the technologies and different things. So, and it's a change for the clients as well, because they're used to seeing us in their office if that was the case. And then all of a sudden we're not there anymore, but we're still communicating and getting the job done. So I think the whole change has come in our industry on how we do things as well going forward.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
There's been absolute big changes happening, which for the better, with clients understanding that they can survive without us being tethered to them. And for us to, explore the different technologies and a bit of freedom and enjoyment, and having that 3-hour lunch, and the client doesn't know because we've rocked their work for an hour. And that's one of the teachings we do is it David Allen that says concentrate on the hour, or do really intense good work, productive work for short periods of time. Like you don't need to spend the day to do the work. If you can plan it and be productive in that hour and get an hour's or 3 hours work done in an hour, because you are switched on with that productivity, and then you do have the option to, relax and, have those 3-hour lunch breaks, which sound wonderful, or go for a walk on the beach.
Yeah. It's all about growing a business that you love. It's not, you aren't in a 9-to-5 business. You are entrepreneurs, business owners, and you can choose to work. And that's that's why typically most bookkeepers started their business, because they wanted, one of the reasons was to work the hours that they wanted to work. The problem is that we get ourselves so caught up on the treadmill of working in the business that we end up working, 60 hours a week, or we work stupid times of the day and stuff like that to fit it all in, without thinking that they actually, if you worked on your business and just sat back for a minute and sat on that beach or in that park or wherever it is and thought about, what do I want my business to look like? Is this the business that I love? Is this why I went into business? If you spend time on thinking about that, and I know for me that's the bit that's going to make the difference between what your business looks like now and what it's going to look like in 12 months and 3 years and 5 years time. But for me, and I'm very typical of most bookkeepers, is when I started appreciating that I needed to work on my business, I felt very guilty about it. It kind of felt indulgent that I was just thinking about stuff and not get this bankrupt done and
working hard.
Yeah, it's like, am I allowed to do this? It's like I'm having a cup of coffee and I'm sitting on the beach and I'm just writing notes and I'm thinking about my future. Yes, that is working on your business. That's the one that's
it's a
worth
strange feeling.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's what I was just going to say. It's a very strange feeling. You're going from working in your business, the 40 to 60 hours a week you make sure you do and get all your stuff done, to then being on the other end and just planning the business and making it work well and having more spare time. And you're like, I haven't done any work.
Yeah.
But you've done so much work, but you haven't done any work.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfortable feeling, but it's great knowing what you're doing, but it's just so uncomfortable.
Yeah. And how do you
so
deal
used
with
to
it
it?
then? How do you deal with that, Sarah, with the guilt and feeling uncomfortable?
Well, I've worked a lot on the last 12 months on me feeling guilty on things in my world and my life. And now I just kind of like, if I feel a little bit guilty, I'm like, what can you do? Like, it's not the other person's problem or the other thing's problem. It's me. So why should I affect my day and ruin my day because I feel guilty, when if it's the other person, they don't care or they don't know that you feel guilty. It doesn't affect their life, it affects you. So just trying to realize the benefit of feeling that guilty feeling, it's useless to you as a person.
Yeah. It's another I can't help but share Pete's words of wisdom.
I was going to say the same.
Another thing he said, I would say something like, I feel guilty about blah, blah, blah. And he said, what does feeling guilty feel like? And I went, kind of feels bad. It was like, it was really hard to actually put into words to explain what guilty feels like. But when you actually try to do it, it's laughable. It's like, you got to laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why am I even
you
feeling
turn around
guilty?
and be like, why that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would I do that to myself?
No, that's right. And is that because I've set an expectation, or that I think that someone else has an expectation of me, and it's all blah, 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 blah. It's all in your head, really?
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's all, if you do have a deadline and you don't meet it, for example, and you feel guilty, that's okay, but you don't let it consume your whole day or your whole week or the way you work, because it was one small thing that is fixable. And if you're late one day, like depending on what the deadline was for, but it's like it's not a deal breaker. Like everyone's still alive and gonna live their lives. You're an hour late or a day late.
I would often say to my staff, when something went wrong and the client wasn't happy, I'd just say, let's put it all in perspective. Has anyone died? No. No one's died. Okay, we're going. It's up from there. Right, now let's deal with what the next thing is. Like, put it in perspective.
I would always go back to, this is not rocket science.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not that, it can't be that hard. Let's just think about this. It's just put it back into perspective and just move on from that.
It consumes so much of your time, and it's just like, if you value your time and what you do, like how many hours do you spend feeling guilty? If you put a figure on that and, you know, or the hours in a day that you need to be working or being with your family, and you spend 5 hours feeling guilty about something, that's 5 hours you've lost in your life for what? Because you feel bad for one small thing that doesn't affect you tomorrow.
And it also, it steals joy.
Yes.
So you miss out on noticing or experiencing joyful moments because I'm in my dark zone here. I'm gonna, and then you miss out on those, the simple joys that happen just all throughout the day because you're consumed by your guilt.
Every one thing that you've said often is don't care more about your client's business than they do. And that's something I've been repeating in Work at Wednesdays as well, in that we get so caught up in it and realize that we care more than they do. No, take a step back and care about your business. And that changes the way you think about doing things and alleviates some of that.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because I've been thinking about that the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we often do that. We care more than they do. So why?
And then you feel guilty because the deadline was missed, not because it was your fault, but because the client didn't care enough about it. And it is a releasing. That's a mantra I think everyone should have, that you'll do all care about what you do, but you're not going to take responsibility for the client's behavior and lack of care about their own business and where it's at.
One of the things that Diane was mentioning was around putting staff on. So she's working by herself at the moment and getting, lots of work. And it's something that Deb, we were talking about before we came on today is, around what is behind the reason for the change, for the avoiding change. So, and especially around putting a staff member on, what is the reason behind that? And there can be a lot of different reasons that we're just so overwhelmed and fearful. And I think, Deb, you were talking about procrastination in that. Yeah. Did you want to talk to that point?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of started off, I guess, in this conversation about becoming aware, but before you become aware, there's a whole lot of other things that are going on. And procrastination is usually the number one reason why we avoid doing something. Well, we avoid because we don't want to do it, we don't like to do it, there's a whole lot of reasons. But if you are going through painful growth or the same thing over and over, and I've spoken about this before, the treadmill of knowing that I needed to recruit, but I didn't trust anyone because I'd cleaned up messes left behind by bad bookkeepers. And then I didn't know what the answer was. So I'd get back on the treadmill and I'd just get up Monday morning and I'd go through to Sunday morning or some other, working through the night and get all the deadlines done. And then when it was bass off, when the deadline was over, I'd think about, I need to recruit, I don't know how. Then the underlying thing, the procrastination, that I was fearful. And I was afraid of damaging my reputation. It's really important and helpful if you articulate. So if you find yourself on this treadmill and you want to solve this problem and this pain point just keeps coming up, as I said before, often there's the same weakness that you have will show up in lots of different parts of your business as well. It just keeps repeating itself until you actually go, what is going on here? Why does this thing keep happening to me? And it's because you're not aware of what, and then you start to dig down. Why am I not creating a system to solve this problem? Or why do I feel? So that's when the leader comes in, and that time when you're sitting on the beach on a Sunday, writing down notes, it's exploring your feelings. It's exploring your preconceived ideas about what it is that you think you value and what's important to you. And why do I keep coming up against this same problem? It's turning the light on. You know, they talk about shine the light on those dark areas inside of our minds about why, and we often blame. It's not my fault, it's their fault, it's someone else's fault, and you're pointing fingers. No, and you just don't take responsibility for it. It's only when you take responsibility for it. And as I said earlier, you put your big girl pants on or big boy pants on. There's any gentleman out there watching this, and you say, I can control this. I am going to control this. The 7 habits of highly effective people, your circle of control, your circle of influence. And this is the bit that you can control. And then you say, okay, I need to put a system in place. I need to have a conversation. That was always a big one for me that I would avoid doing like the plague, having a difficult conversation with someone. And it was only then I'd think, why am I procrastinating about having that conversation with that client? And then I'd go, okay, do you think he's going to get angry? He might get angry. What do you think he'll say? So I'm doing a bit of but that's where that's the leader's role. It's to unpick all the preconceived ideas that at this point in your life you have gathered, and then going, is that actually true? Probably not. People do this to me all the time. Why do you think that? And I go, why do I think what? And he said, that thing you just said. Why do you think that? Do you think that's true? And I go, I know, I wasn't even aware of what I said. I'm just repeating stuff that I have repeated my whole life. I've thought was true because I've repeated it. And if you repeat something often enough, your subconscious goes, well, it must be true because you keep saying it. So, and he goes, but it's, let me show you another way of thinking about that. An example, a perfect example, was the very first day I signed up with him to do the business coaching. And he just got out his paperwork and all that. And he said, right, these are my terms. And it's going to be upfront on the 1st of the month or the 30th of the month, whatever that was for the next month, and it's paid in advance. And if it bounces, this is what there's going to be a fee. And he was going through his terms and conditions. And at the end of that, I just said I could never do that. I remember saying it now. It was our very first meeting. And he said, do what? And I said, what you just did then. All your terms, and this is what, and this is how I'm going to pay you. I said, I could never do that with clients. And then that just opened up another 3 months or 3 years of conversations around, why do you think that's true? Why couldn't you do that? And then that's that peeling back the onion and going, I don't know. Why do I think that's true? Why couldn't I do that? And it's like, it is a wonderful experience to go through and become aware. And sometimes you do need an awareness buddy. We talk about accountability buddies, but having someone that you trust who cares deeply about you, a friend, family member, spouse, or whoever, who has the courage, because they know they're safe, that you're not going to go, what do you mean by that kind of thing? It's like, and they have the courage to say, hey, Deb, what? That's an interesting thing you just said. Why did you, that's where the personal development came with, for me, made it easier because I had Pete always questioning what I was thinking and the preconceived ideas that I had that were just not helpful.
Change your mindset. That's what it's all about. And that's what he did with you.
Yeah.
It changed the way you were thinking about yourself. And not everybody can do it the same way as Pete does it. What we need to do is find how it best suits us to do it.
Mm.
And we can do that with a friend or with an accountability buddy or with something. But it's just, we know it all, but it doesn't mean we can put it into action straight away. And it's a journey. It's to get from where we are to where we want to be and why.
Mm.
Mm. And it's, as Sarah had said, it's little steps.
Yeah.
It's identifying what that little step is and putting, you know, steps into place. And sometimes the change, like if it's a big change, as we were talking about, putting a staff member on that we can't do all this work ourselves, we want to grow, we need to do something about it, is there's a lot of planning around that as well. So it's not, you can't just expect the next step to happen.
Mm.
You know, there are times when you're talking something like a staff member and growing your business and making that change, like that's a big out of your comfort zone already in becoming a leader of somebody else and a leader of your business direction rather than just doing some work. So it's planning out what do you need to happen to make that happen. And in that instance, as Di had mentioned around systems, you know, making sure the systems are in place to be able to support bringing that person on. And then finding that right person, you know, who is that right person that you need to do what work that you're going to do. You know, when I work with bookkeepers, it's like, what's the work that you want to pass over? And then create a plan to transition that work over to your staff member. And, you know, identifying that work helps you identify the right person.
Exactly. And just to articulate what's happening right now, I should point that way because Katrina's over there on my screen. Anyway, whichever way, that's the manager. So the leader has the awareness, becomes aware that there is a problem and that we need to solve the problem. Then that's the first step of becoming aware that you have a problem. And that's the role of the leader, one of the roles of the leader. And then the manager takes over, and Katrina does such an awesome job of saying, how do we get practical about this? Okay, I know I've got this. I'm now aware of the problem, and I'm aware that I can control it. And so now I'm just going to get all practical about it. And that's when the manager steps in, and she gave a perfect example of how you apply that knowledge, that awareness that a leader just had into a practical application of what systems, when am I going to recruit, all those sorts of things.
And we've been talking a lot about our perfect week, my diary, default diary, all of those, and timekeeping. And once you start doing those, you realize how much time you're spending, how much time you're wasting, but also it shows you where you have gaps that you could put in extra, or you can see that you're filling up in black and white in front of you, that you need to have somebody there. So that helps with your mindset that I really need to get somebody to help me do this. And before joining Pure Bookkeeping Systems, my biggest fear was, I know how to do it, and I want somebody to do it the way I am. And without those checks and balances, it's a challenge.
Yeah, you need to be able to.
Sorry, Katrina, I was just going to say, Jacqueline, especially when your black and white becomes purple and yellow and greens and reds in your diary, and all the colours are sort of mingling into each other.
And they're blocks, not dots.
Yes, but I just think, just back on what Katrina said, I think it's a real leap of faith. Like for me to just the idea of engaging a staff member to help me out, it's a real leap of faith for me, because it's easy just to slot back and go, I'll do it myself, or I can do it quicker, or I can do it better. And having the trust, I know Deb's talked about this before, having the trust in someone else to do the job that the client expects for you to do as well, especially if it's someone existing that you've already built that trust and rapport with, because the client is used to you. So it's like, if they're used to you, will they agree to have someone else doing their work and knowing that it'll be at the same level? So yeah, real leap of faith.
Yeah. And I think the like, it's not easy. We're not saying that it's easy by any stretch. Like, breaking out of your comfort zone, that's challenging and scary as heck. I think the thing is that you put the systems in place to minimize the risk as well. So you have the system in place. It's not going to be always perfect, but you are, with the knowledge that you have right now, you put the systems in place to minimize the risk of something bad happening. And if something bad does happen, you then keep reminding yourself of what system, or asking yourself, what system do I need to put in place to fill that hole, that crack, that thing just fell through the crack. So it's all about, and it's hard, it's challenging and all of that. And that's why the thing about, we spoke just briefly, touched on the why. So why do you do all this? Why do you bother pushing out of your comfort zone? You could go and get a job. And you don't, most of the time, you don't have to do any of this kind of stuff unless you really wanted to. Get a job. It's someone else's responsibility. You turn up and do perform your role, which you could do really well. We know that the reason why you're all in business is much bigger. But that is why having your why in front of mind all the time is so important, because it's hard pushing through out of your comfort zone, like giving birth sometimes. Sometimes it can be that hard. And then you look at your why and you go, I know why I'm doing this. I'm not going to go and get a job because I can't achieve that just by having a job. And this is the reason why I'm doing this. So I am going to keep pushing through. I am going to give birth to this baby, and it's all going to be healthy and well. But it's a painful process. We're not trying to pretend that, oh, once you have your epiphany and you go, oh, yes, I'll put this system in place and everything will be fine. It's like there are still a lot of challenges, but you're at least doing it from the point of awareness.
Where's everybody's vision board? If you don't want to have a vision board, have a vision book. Have a book on your desk that you draw in, that you write in, that you can look at. And it's there in front of you all the time, emphasizing what your why is. And know what your why is. And like, if everybody that's starting out, I want to say, like, I want to bash their head against a brick wall and say, just do it now. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. I even look at my PBS journey, and I've taken so long to do stuff because of fears and insecurities and everything else. And I just want to say, just do it. You're going to be better off. Just do it.
That's the exact phrase that I used when I took my leap of faith. I couldn't decide. I was procrastinating. Should I do it? Oh, then I'm going to lose my income. Do I have the confidence? Do I know what I'm doing? All those insecurities. And, is it the right thing to do? And I need to, have this in my life and blah, blah, blah. And it was to a point where I couldn't make a decision for the life of me, that I just do it. It was literally just do it. And I just announced that that's what you do. That's what I'm doing. And my friend said, finally, you've made a decision. Because all of the conversations, they're going, just, do it. You do it. You're good at what you do. You know what you do. You're qualified. You've got all this experience, blah, blah, blah. Just do it. And I'm going, but all these objections come into it, and then announce it to the world and say, finally, just.
Do you look back
Stop
now
having
and
this
think
conversation.
what? Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to ask, do you look back now and do you see what was holding you back, if there was anything holding you back? And
I
because
think
most of the time it is our own fear.
It would have been the fear of the unknown. I've got to drop off this income or increase my workload to work more hours and also going out and asking people for work. I had a couple of regular jobs that I was a contractor at, but they were I was like an employee. So now I've got to go out and find clients. So I've got to go around, and I walk the streets and put leaflets around.
Yeah.
And said, I'm an accountant at a bookkeeper's rate, so hire me. So it was literally that bold of going around and getting no's. It's just like, well, you just got to do it. Just got to start. So it was that the fear of the no, the rejection, and confidence in yourself to be able to do it.
Failure. That failure would have to be, what if I fail?
Yes.
That is the most common reason why people don't do something, start something, or it's the fear of failure and what will people think. And I'll have to go back to my friends and say, didn't work. What will they say, what will they think of me, all of that. That's very human. It's a bit like guilt. It actually isn't helpful at all.
But how many people will be negative towards you because they're jealous that they can't do it themselves?
Yeah.
And just do it, just get over it.
Yeah, that's you. I guess that's also you realizing that that person doesn't want me to do better than them or want to achieve.
Doesn't want me, to succeed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump in. I know Katrina probably was about to do this, but we can't possibly go through a power hour without Helen putting in her words of wisdom, of which they are bountiful.
Hi everyone. Okay, my words of wisdom. Oh, let's see. I don't think I'm a good role model because I'm a just do it girl. I take risks. I always go with the old-fashioned gut feeling. I just go ahead. I do things, but I always just think my decisions don't have dire consequences, whether it's financial or anything. And I guess I'm like a lot of bookkeepers. I didn't fall into this job, but it was just do a little bit to get by, whatever. There was no, my why was always short-term wise, make the groceries for the week, that's a good income, then make the house bills for the month kind of thing. So there was no, it's going to be a, massive business and, I'm going to have X amount of growth to what it's become. But it's, I don't know. I just go with my gut feeling, and I know fear is there. And I guess it's just a matter of just listening to yourself, listening to your heart. And I don't get that jealousy thing because I'm not a jealous person. And I understand people will say to me, but they're just jealous. And I think that's silly. So I just really get that out of my head that, people don't want you to succeed, because I don't understand that personally. I know it occurs, I know it happens, and people can be quite vicious with probably their words, but I just block all that out. Just have an idea, I run with it. I might run it by my partner or, my mentor or whichever. And, in saying that, there's things in the business that I will procrastinate with when it comes to staff because it affects their livelihood. So that's when I will take things into consideration. But other than that.
What have you got an experience about change in your business or in your life that you've gone through a change or?
So many in the last 2 years. There's been so many and too many at the same time. And I think that's my weakness, that it's like you you get a new app and then suddenly there's all these apps you say you're going to start, you want to use one day. And I have this awful habit of implementing everything at the same time. I don't know how I do that. And it's always around the same time of the year. So I think it could be something with the moon if people get into that spiritual thing. I don't know. Because it happens to me every June, our busiest time, or leading into the busiest time. And I go and adapt all these new things. And I'm like, why do I do this? And in saying that, I just put on 2 staff members and put them on together. And I thought, why did I do that? I needed to start this induction. I needed to, so Di, I did take that leap, put on more staff, and it makes you realise how unwelled oil you really are in systems. Like you think, our existing staff, we had our processes, our systems, we were slowly bringing, the pure bookkeeping into that. When you bring some completely new, it's like, whoa, systems are not really working. So, it's a matter of, and it's not the initial PB reporting. There's a lot more into your business. There's maybe the way I collate my BAS reports and send them to the client. There's all these little processes of how we do things. So that's what I need to now go back and fine tune and work on. So yeah, a bit hectic, and you're trying to get out of that holding hand kind of phase. So, but generally, yeah, I don't know if there's any words of wisdom in there.
Can I say, Helen, you're spot on when you say you go with your gut, because I always say if you don't go with your gut, you get kicked in it. So I've always worked with that as well. Go with your gut or it kicks you. So
and try not to decide emotionally, and that's that is my downfall, because when things aren't going to plan, I think, do I have to let them go? It's so maybe I'll have a phone call with Debbie about that one. It's a bit hard. I sort of do, I feel sorry for people. It's awful. I think, you want to help the world, and people come to you and want, they want work, and you think, yeah, I could get you to do a bit of that. I could get nothing. That's not what I need. I need someone who's got, 5 years experience and can just take over. So, it's a matter of just reminding yourself. And I think, as Jackie said, that vision board, I have my goals, my monthly, my quarterly hanging up. So when I'm thinking and not clear, I just look at them and I think, what's the track I'm supposed to be on here? And,
I think, Helen, just in comment, although I don't know all the details of it, but the thought just came into my mind then that I think choosing staff is a bit like choosing clients. So you can't help everyone. You can't help all the clients in the world. You can't have 1,000 staff and all this sort of thing. It's not, anyway, let's just say. And so I think when you want to help everyone, though, you want to help every client, but not all clients want the help and don't deserve the help that you are prepared to give them. And I think the thought that came into my mind was, I think it's a bit like that with staff as well, that you want to help everyone and give them some employment and give them some training and things like that. But when you have a particular need in your business, you can't help everyone individually. I know I've known a couple of bookkeepers that have such a passion for wanting to provide training to startup bookkeepers and wanting to do that in their business, and yet their business was not big enough to sustain that kind of training. So it would have just drained their resources to be able to, if they focused on that. So I said, grow a business that's independent of you, and then knock yourself out by developing programs and training while your business is all working and ticking over here, and developing systems and training to do the thing that's your passion. And whether you make money from that or don't make money, that's up to you. But you've got your business actually functioning and providing for you. So that was just a thought that came into my head.
Another thing you've said, Debbie, is when you are getting everything, you're in the middle of something, you're really super busy, don't try and fix something then. have a note or
Yeah, that's
have
right.
a sandpit in your workflow or whatever, and write it down to come back to when you're not as busy.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
part of running your business, in checking on those things. Okay, I need to streamline that a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good way to finish this off, is by when you, because we're talking about change and identifying change. If you are going through a pain point, write it down. You may not be, as in speaking to what Jacqueline just said, you may not have the time to deal with it right then and there, but at least you're becoming aware that it is a problem and you're actually writing it down. And then you can put your manager's hat on and say, well, how am I going to fix that problem?
Exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, I think we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to finish up. So thank you everyone for joining us today and contributing. I really appreciate all your thoughts and comments. I think it's very useful to hear from others and let others hear other people's stories, that we're not all alone and not isolated, and we're all in this together at, we're experiencing the same type of stuff. It's it's repeatable and fixable, and we're all trying to make it better. So I think it was a great session. It was a good session. So thank you everyone.
Excellent.
Thanks everyone.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.